Fundamentally, there are two types of functions. One is built-in function, another one is user-defined functions. What is the difference? So apart from that, in this video, we'll be knowing how to create our own functions and how to use those functions. So watch the video till the end so that you can able to understand clearly all these concepts. So let's get started. So welcome to the series of everything you need to know about Python in simplest possible way. So let us first understand the built-in functions. So the built-in functions, which means whenever we are using the Python, internally there will be some functions, so we can use those functions without writing any code for that. So as a beginner, we will be using one function very frequently, which is nothing but print here. So how we use print? So we will just mention this print and we will open these braces and we will mention whatever the things that we wanted to print in the output. So let's say I will just print this as like here. So you can see the result, we are getting like, right? So this is one of the built-in function. So apart from that, let's say if I use this len and if I mention like here and if I execute this, we are getting 4. So when we use print, we are getting like, when we use this length, we are getting 4 here. So like this print is used to print and this length is used to find how many number of characters that we have in the string. So we don't define this code, right? We didn't write the code for this length and for this print. So internally, Python itself know and write the code for this function. So we just use this function, we are just getting the output. So these are considered as built-in functions. So there are so many built-in functions that we have in order to do the process simpler. So these are few of the built-in functions. So built-in functions comes along with the Python. We don't want to write the code for the built-in functions. So that's it for the built-in functions. Let us know about the user-defined functions. So user-defined functions means we ourselves write the functions and use the functions. So we need to mention what are the things that we wanted to do along with the functions. So let's say, to understand clearly, so this is built-in function, right? We have to write the code for these functions. So when we wanted to write and define our own functions, we will be following some procedure. So let us understand how we can create our own functions. So to do that, we will be using, so first I will be explaining the syntax of the creation of functions. So to do that, to create our own functions, so our own functions are considered as user defined function. That is the difference between built-in functions and user defined functions. Built-in functions comes along with Python. We don't want to write whatever the code that we wanted to execute those functions. Rather, for user defined functions, we need to define what are the actions need to be performed in the functions. So in order to create our own functions, we need to follow some procedures. So I will explain how we can create our own functions. So first I will be starting with the syntax. So to start with, first we need to mention this def. Def is a keyword in Python which is used to define a specific function. So by using this def only, we are mentioning, hey, this is a function, remember this is a function. That is how we are telling Python that we are defining a function. So apart from this def, we will be mentioning the name of the function. So the name, let's say, so my function here, so my function, so I am taking the name as my functions. So the naming convention, so how we are defining the names for these functions, as like we have the naming conventions for variables. So in our previous videos, we have seen how this naming convention for variables works. So for variables or for functions, the naming conventions act like a similar. So we can have alphanumeric values, alphanumeric characters for the functions names and variables names, and this function the names should start with either alphabet or underscore. Any other characters, any special characters are not allowed, and keywords are not allowed for the functions and variables. So I hope you can able to understand the naming conventions of this particular function name. So if you have any confusion, watch my previous video about naming conventions for a variable, by which you can able to understand it clearly. So first we will be mentioning the def keyword. After that we will be mentioning this function name, and after that we will be mentioning these braces. So if you consider this built-in functions also, we are having these braces, right? So in the exact similar fashion we will be using these braces to define the function. So I hope you can able to understand why we are using these braces, because we need to use that, because that is one of the convention in order to define the function. So in these braces we can have parameters here. So parameters are optional. We can mention how many number of parameters that we wanted inside of the function. So here for this length method we are taking one parameter, which is nothing but string. So any iterable we can pass, and the iterable, how many number of characters present in the iterable, that will be returned. So the string is a parameter that you can consider here, and per print the parameter is, which is nothing but string here. So when we use this string as a parameter, we are getting the result, which is nothing but like here. Like that, in our own functions also we can pass and we can mention how many number of parameters that we wanted. So there are different approaches to mention the parameters. So we will be detailedly discussing all of those things in our coming videos. For the time being, understand inside of this particular braces we can mention how many number of parameters that we wanted. So these are optional. We can have these parameters or we don't have these parameters. That is completely based on our requirement of defining the function. After that we will be mentioning this colon. So why this colon is mentioned is because we wanted to mention this function in a block of code. So to mention the block of code we will be using this colon and indentation. So then only it will be considered as a block, right? So that is the reason we will be mentioning this colon, and we will be mentioning this indentation to mention this is a block of code and this is used for the this function, right? So after that, in this we will be having some code here. So we will write some code and we will write some code. So these are some of the instructions that we wanted to execute from this function. So I'm just mentioning this comments here. So in this function we can write whatever the code that we wanted. So for finding the lengths of this particular iterable, which is nothing but a string like here, we will be having some code internally for this length. So in the similar fashion we need to have some code inside of this particular function. That is what I am mentioning here. So after that, at the end we can have return statement here. So return. So what this return do is that it will return some value. Let's say I'm taking as value here. So it will return either one value or multiple values. So how this return works is that here you can understand with this length. So whenever we are calling this, it is returning some value, which is nothing but 4 here. Let's say if I assign this, let's say n here, and if I print n, if I execute this, we are getting 4, which means the result of this particular length method are returning a number which is assigned to this n, and we are printing the n. So like this we can return any value that we wanted in the function. So this is also optional. If you wanted to return something, we can return, and if you don't want to return, we don't want to return. So this is optional. Return is optional and parameters are also optional. Apart from that, everything is as it is. So we will define the function using this def method, def keyword, and after that we will be mentioning the name of the function. So we need to mention the parenthesis, this colon, and we need to maintain the indentation to mention that hey, this is a block of code that I am writing, to mention that is a function. So I hope you can able to understand this blueprint, this syntax of this particular function. So let us go ahead and create one function by which you can able to understand clearly how we can create function. So let us go ahead and see that. So to define, we need to use this def keyword, right? So after that, I wanted to create in this function is that I wanted to create a function that is wishing. So it will wish something. So for that reason, I will be mentioning the name as wish. So understand one of the important concepts here. Whenever you are mentioning any function, the name of the function should depict whatever the process that you are using in the function. So here I wanted to wish. So for that reason I am taking the function name as wish. So in the similar fashion, you need to mention name of the functions based on whatever the process that you are doing in the function. So I hope you can able to understand that, right? So instead of this, what I am doing is that I will just print, so have a nice day here. So I'm just wishing something which is have a nice day here. So now if I execute this, this is got executed. You can see the cell execution here. So this is it. So this is the simple function that I'm mentioning in order to wish, telling have a nice day here. So that's it. We have defined the function. So this is got a function. So how you can understand this function is like, this is a person. So this is a person and you can call this person. So when you call this person, he will say have a nice day. So in a similar fashion, you can understand these functions as a person. So he know what he wanted to do. So this person know when you call this person will react as a have a nice day. So in order to call this person, you need to call, right? So when you call only, he will respond. So when you don't call, he won't respond. So he knows what exactly need to do. So now I will call this person, which is nothing but the name of this person is nothing but wish here. So I am mentioning wish here. So this person don't take anything. So now if I execute this, so this person is returning have a nice day. So you can understand this person as a function, right? So this is person, this is a function. You are calling this person and this person is telling have a nice day. So the person is nothing but function here. So this person is printing have a nice day here. So like this we can able to mention the simple method that the simple function that we wanted to do. So here we are not passing anything, right? So we have mentioned we can pass parameters. So there are so many concepts that we need to understand regarding parameters that we'll discuss detailedly in our coming videos. So for the time being, for this video, what you can understand is that I will pass a simple parameter here. So I will pass name here. So this function will take the name and print the name here. So I'm taking name here. So I'm taking name here. So I wanted to mention this as a f string. So when we mention this as a f string, this will be considered as a string, and inside of this particular f string we can mention the name also, we can mention the variables also. So here comes the name, and after the name have a nice day will come. So this is what the f string do. So if you got any confusion about f string, was the previous video about f string, you can able to understand clearly. So this function takes a variable which is take the parameter which is name, and I am executing this. So we need to pass the parameter. So now if I don't pass this parameter here, if I execute this, we are getting an error which missing one required positional argument, which is nothing but name here. So what it is telling is that this wish function takes one parameter and you are not passing that parameter. So that is what it is telling, and you need to pass the parameter. And how you can understand this is because is like this person want some kind of information to do some process. So here in case he wants the name. So when you mention the name, then only he will respond with this particular response. So now if I pass, let's say Mahesh here, and if I execute this, it was returning, the person is returning Mahesh have a nice day. So that is what we are getting from this function. So I hope you can able to understand. This is a parameter and we are passing that here from here. So this will be replaced to here, and this parameter will be mapped with this parameter name, and that what we are printing here. So I hope you can able to understand the parameter, right? So let us go ahead and understand one more important aspect that we have, which is nothing but return here. So in this case we are only printing the statements inside of the function, right? So let us see how we can return the elements. So to do that, what I will be taking is that I will take one more method here, which is nothing but square here. So what I wanted to do from this is that I wanted to take one variable. So I wanted to take a number, I wanted to square the number, I wanted to return the number. So for that, I will be taking one variable, one parameter, which is nothing but number here. So after that, I will just return this number by squaring this number. So by mentioning this exponential operator, we can square the number, right? So that is what I am doing, and I am returning this. So if I execute this is got executed. So now if I call this square, and if I give the number, let's say I wanted to give, let's say 5 here, and if I execute this, this is got executed and we are getting the return result, which is 25 here. So you might think like this square, when you mention this return or when you don't mention this return, this works exactly fine. Previously also, even when we don't mention the return, but still we are getting the result, right? So I will explain clearly the difference. So let's say I will mention SQ here and I am assigning this result to SQ. So after that, if I print SQ here and if I execute this, we are getting SQ 25 as a result. So here, what I will be doing is that I will mention as wi. So after that, if I print wi here, understand carefully, observe carefully, if I execute this, so I am executing this, I am calling this wish function by name Mahesh, and I am not returning anything from this wish. And if I execute this, so we are getting the Mahesh have a nice day, and after that we are getting none. So this function, whenever we are calling this function, it will directly go there and execute that. Here in case we are just printing, right? For that reason we are printing the result. So after that, when we assign the result to wi, so this function does not returning anything. So we didn't mention any return statement. Because of that reason, by default it will return none. When you don't mention any return statement, by default it will return none. So as a result, we are assigning that to wi. When we are printing this wi, we are getting the result, which is nothing but none here, because we are not returning anything. By default it will return none. That is what we are getting from this wi here. So I hope you can able to understand the difference between return and non-return. So here in case we are returning, because of that reason we are getting 25 here. Let's say, to make you more understand clearly, what I will be doing is that I will take this square and I will pass 2 here. If I execute this, if I execute this, we are getting 4, right? So what I will be doing is that I will add this 4, whatever the result that we are getting, with 1 here. If I execute this, we are getting 5, right? So because we are returning the result, because of that reason we are getting 5. Let's say instead of returning, and if I print the result, so understand carefully, I am not returning the result, rather I am printing the result. If I execute this, this is got executed, and if I execute this, we will get an error, don't worry. So if I execute this, we are getting an error, unsupported operator of place, none and int, because this by default return none, right? When we don't mention any return statement, it will return none. So this none plus 1 don't support. Because of that reason we are getting this result. So by this, I hope you can able to understand the functions with return and the functions without return. So this is how we can able to create the functions, and we can use and we can call the functions whenever we wanted. So by this we can avoid code redundancy and we can maintain our code effectively. So let me quickly wrap up what we have discussed in this video so that you can able to understand clearly. So first we have discussed the built-in functions. So these are some of the built-in functions. We have a lot of built-in functions in Python. So these are some of the built-in functions that we have seen. So built-in functions, we don't need to define whatever the actions that we wanted to perform based on the functions. So apart from that, when we wanted to define our own functions, which are nothing but considered as a user-defined functions, we need to mention everything in the code and whatever the process that we are doing in the code by inside of a function. So that is what we have discussed and how we can create a function here. So after that, we have seen with some example based on wish and how we can pass the some parameter to this wish, and by default we have seen previously before this by empty without having this name and after having this name. So this parameter is optional. We can pass the parameter, or if you don't require any parameter in the function, we don't need to pass any parameter, and that is also we have seen. Apart from that, we have seen one more important thing, which is nothing but return here. So what is the difference between having a function with return and having a function without return? That we have seen and understand clearly, right? So I hope you can able to understand all of these concepts explained in this video, and I hope you have found this video interesting. If that is true, hit the like button and comment whatever you think about this video. In the next video, we will be seeing some of the important concepts, which is nothing but parameters. So there are more number of things that we need to cover regarding parameters that we will see in our coming videos. To stay updated with my latest videos, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications to all, so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.